start? Oh. Welcome everybody. We'll get started here in a few minutes. It's great to have you back with me this week. Our second week of a 5-week tasting. I hope you're all doing well out there, healthy and happy. Give it a minute. What's that? A little wind. Let me start. Okay. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're going to give it a few minutes, let folks get situated. You know it's busy time.
So far we have Michigan, Arizona, and Idaho.
Welcome Michigan, Arizona, Idaho in the house. Thanks for joining me. And everybody else out there. Okay. Well, welcome family and friends of Rutherford Hill. It's great to be here with you. Week 2 of our 5-week tasting, and as you can see, I'm here at the winery this week. I'm very excited to be back and to be able to see my colleagues and to be able to host and taste with you today here at the winery. Today we had some vineyard meetings and tasted through some verticals. We actually tasted some more Chardonnay, so really just gearing up for bottling and tasting barrels and all that good stuff. So it's very fun. And also wanted to say Happy Earth Day. It's nice. Today is April 22nd, and it is beautiful out here in Rutherford. It's just gorgeous. I'm sorry we're not outside to show you, but if you were here or if you live close by, you know how gorgeous the weather is. So it's an awesome day to have Earth Day. So it's very hope-filled, and just that reminder of what Mother Nature brings and the renewal of the springtime. So it's just a really wonderful day. And I thought it would be a perfect opportunity before we launch into our tasting is to talk about our green certification. As you can see, I have these little signs here. We are both not only certified as in the land, but also in the winery. So from land to bottle, we are green certified. And you may be asking, well, what does that mean? And it is, we are third-party certified. We went through, it was a pretty rigorous process, lots of evaluations of both, not just what you're doing operationally, but then also just from a personnel being sustainable, all top to bottom. And so some ways that we are sustainable green is that for the land, we sustainably farm. Sorry, I'm doing tongue-tied. So sustainably farm, and we have cover crops in our vineyards. We have both bluebird and owl boxes to help. They help with predators, getting gophers and things with the owls. And we have solar here, which is it was really important to the owner. We are owned by the Chalato family, and they was really important that we become certified. So they put that investment into us going through that rigorous process almost 5 years ago. Well, 5 years ago we were going through the process. So it's really great. And so we are solar. We have solar. We're 100% solar generated here keeps the lights on. And let me look at my little cheat sheet here. We also, other things that we do for the winery, and it's like a constant process, I guess I would like to say, is that to be green certified, it's not that you fill out the paperwork and go through the process and boom, you're done, and that's what you check off the box. It's one of those things that it's a journey, it's a lifelong journey. So we're continually reevaluating how we do things. What can we do to be greener? What can we do to make sure that we're sustainable? So it's quite a commitment to have, and I really commend the Chalatos for getting behind us to do that, because it's really important to them as well. We also do things like we want to decrease our water usage, so you make sure you're using drip irrigation. We use when we're cleaning tanks in the winery, we're using water for more than one tank, things like that. So yeah. So it's never green enough. You just got to always think green. So I just wanted to mention that. It was a great tie-in. I was really excited today was Earth Day because I love our earth, and I think it's on our minds a lot these days with everything going on. So anyway, so cheers to Earth Day. And yeah, okay. And then I also wanted to chat about, or before we get into the tasting of the wine, is I wanted to also give a shout out to, there's an anniversary couple out there celebrating 20 years. So cheers to you. We'll do a cheers later too, but cheers to you, Melinda and Mario. Happy 20th up in Washington. Thank you for joining me. It's an honor to be part of your special day, and also with all your friends and family joining us. So cheers, ching ching. I don't know how to do it on a virtual ching ching. So thank you for being part of this. It's awesome. Congratulations. Wish you many, many more. So as we mentioned before, is that we want this to be interactive, so please ask questions. You know, if you have any questions, please comment in the comment section there, ask a question. And this is part of a 5-week series. This is the second week series for those of you joining us for the first time. Last week we tasted the Barrel Select, and this week we'll be tasting the 2016 Carneros Chardonnay. And shall we get started? I think so. Oh, before we do that, I wanted to also, as last week we had a local restaurant, we had pizza last week with the Barrel Select. We wanted to continue that this week to support our local restaurants. This is so important to support our local businesses. And we have a fried chicken sandwich here from Press. They have a really great curbside pickup you can pick up here in St. Helena. So we thought that was pretty close to the recipe that was paired with this. I believe it was a Parmesan crusted chicken. So we'll just pretend there's a little bit of Parmesan on there. So anyways, but kudos to Press. Thank you so much for providing this. And also they have a really great, for when we are back to dining in, they have a really great library of wines there. So it's really fun for if you want to go taste some older vintages. It's a great place to go. So, and plus their food is amazing. So there's that too. So let's get started, shall we? We're going to talk about our Chardonnay. Now you may think, oh, Rutherford Hill, I didn't know you made Chardonnay. It is a small volume of small case production that we do. But yes, we've been making Chardonnay for many, many years. And this wine it's a small volume wine. It's about 500 cases that we make. We source our fruit from down in Carneros. For as long as I've been here, oh, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Marisa Taylor, the winemaker, for those of you just joining. Marisa Taylor, winemaker for Rutherford Hill Winery. I've been here since 2004, and it's a real pleasure to work for the Gelato family here at Rutherford Hill. And we have been making Chardonnay from that vineyard as long as I've been here, and it is a great region. Carneros is it's the only appellation AVA that we have that borders two prominent wine growing regions, so Sonoma and Napa. It's southern, I guess I should tell you where it is. It's South Napa, and it borders the San Pablo Bay. And so you get a lot of cooling. It's cooler, it's the coolest. I guess there's one other appellation that is cooler, but that is one of the coolest locations in Napa. So it's a great growing region for both Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. And we are fortunate enough to get this very delicious Chardonnay that we will be tasting here in a minute. The AVA was established in 1983. And one thing I love about it, like I mentioned, is the cool maritime influences from the San Pablo Bay, is that for me, for Chardonnay, it really retains the acidity of the fruit, which I think you will taste in the wine. I hope you do. And it's just a nice balance with both the fruit and the acid and what it brings to the bottle and after fermentation. I just love that component of the Chardonnay. And here's a little fun fact about me and Chardonnay, is that it is the only varietal that I've made every harvest of my career. So whether I was an intern at a sparkling house, yes, Chardonnay goes into sparkling wines, or when I was working in Italy, they made Chardonnay. So it's been a real fun privilege, and it's really special for me is how much it's a great varietal. I think it doesn't get enough credit sometimes. I grew up, this is another little strange fact, but you know, we went through a time in this country, I think, you know, Chardonnay became such a boom after 1976 tasting in France that in the 80s there was a lot of Chardonnay, and there still is. The Chardonnay is, I think it might still be the second most planted grape out there, is that it is so neutral and it's just versatile, and you can, it's really, it bends with what the winemaker does and with barrels and all that good stuff, and I just think it's just a wonderful wine to give a try out. You know, I used to hear that ABC and I would be, what's that? And it's anything but Chardonnay, but I think that is important to put that seed into your wine inventory. So let's get started with the Chardonnay. So as I mentioned, it's from the vineyard down in Carneros. It's owned by Clos Bagasse at the time, Mizuko's vineyard, if you know that vineyard from their wines that they make, and it's a really special vineyard. The block, it has a Dijon clone, Dijon 95, and I just love this block. I just love this wine, and well, you'll taste it. I hope you taste it and you see what it tastes like. But it's just a great finesse, and it has such great, like I said, for me the goal, even as a winemaker, is to have that the fruit and the acid, and then have the barrel be a nice spice component and accent to it, not overwhelm it. So 2016 vintage, as we mentioned last week too with the barrel select, it was a near perfect growing season, and we really had great fruit from Carneros. We night harvest our fruit, hand harvest, night harvest the Chardonnay, so it comes in really, really cool, and we put it direct to press, and so we press it. We use actually a champagne cycle to help minimize the extraction of the phenolics from the skins, and it goes directly to tank, and we settle it for 24 hours, and then and off to barrel it goes, and that's where it stays until we rack it to get ready for bottling. So we do, I guess if you wanted to call a style, it would be more of the Burgundian style, because we do 100% barrel fermentation, and it is also goes through malolactic fermentation. And you might say, well, what is malolactic fermentation? I hear the wind is talking to us outside. Malolactic fermentation is moving the acid that's naturally formed. It comes in the grapes, the malic acid, to lactic acid. So it's like taking, if you think of orange juice and the texture of the acidity of what you get for orange juice, and turning it into milk, and how milk is much more that lactic, a little heavier, creamier richness there. So that's what you're doing with the Chardonnay, is taking it from the malic to lactic acid. And so and getting back to the Carneros region, all that acidity that it retains, it's really great, because after malolactic fermentation, when we do soften it, it's kind of what people would refer to as just softening it, you still can taste the acidity, but it does give this great texture to the wine. So with that, shall we get started and take a taste? Or maybe you've already started, and I will just catch up with you. So yeah, let us know questions, anything you'd like to be answered. I hope you're enjoying the wine.
Someone asked, like, what's the largest grape planted that we plant? So which varietal do we plant the most of?
For Rutherford Hill,
Mm-hmm.
Our largest planted, well, we've been replanting, and so we do, I would say, Cabernet Sauvignon right now as it's planted. Historically, it's been Merlot, but right now we do have more Cab planted, or young vines coming on, so that would make it, we would do Cab, and then Merlot would be second. So for me, I think that this wine is really pretty. I think it's got a nice, there's like a floral, or like there's a pear with some sort of, I don't know, some sort of blossom there. Reminds me of springtime. It smells really delicious. I'm gonna taste it. So you can taste how bright, for me it's bright, some nice bright fruit. Do you get that? Like, oftentimes with Chardonnay you'll get descriptors of apple or pear. I think this has a little bit of like kind of a combo, and there's even like maybe a lime component to it as well with that floral. And you can really feel that it's full. Yeah, it has a nice finish too. It's still lingering. So what do you think? You guys like it?
Someone asked, what's the influence that yeast has on the aromas of Chardonnay? Do you use more than one yeast? Do you have a favorite?
Okay. Yes, you can play with yeast and changing the influence of the wine. For us, I feel like you get, with our Chardonnay, I feel like you get more influence from the barrels that we use. But we do have two favorites I use with Chardonnay. I use, it's called CY 3079. And it really helps support kind of that, the texture, the mid palate, and it's just a great fermenter for Chardonnay and barrel. So that's my go-to. I also use another one called D47 sometimes to kind of, you know, it's more of an accentuate and to balance it out, sometimes a blend. But usually my go-to for Chardonnay is, for the Carneros Chardonnay, is the 3079. Yeah. And we do, I should talk about that it's barrel fermented in French oak again. It's about 25% new oak. And we did do on this wine, we did do a little bit of surly aging, which is, it goes, after it ferments in barrel, you have the yeast cells fall down to the bottom of the barrel, and that you stir them to help mix it up so that you get a lees wine interaction. So it helps change a little bit the aromatics, gives you a little bit more of that. Sometimes you'll smell in wines the creme brulee is kind of a good term. That aroma kind of brings that forward a little bit more. But it really is, for me, it really helps accentuate the mid palate.
And how long did you say it was in barrel for?
It was in barrel for a little over, probably almost 8 months. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then someone else asked, they see a lot of Chardonnays aged in stainless steel. He talks about the difference.
Yeah. So yeah, that is definitely, you know, Chardonnay, as I mentioned before, is very versatile. We use it in a lot of, winemakers can use it in so many different ways. Stainless steel, like I mentioned, sparkling, where you pick it earlier, stainless steel in barrels. Stainless steel, when you make, because I think you probably hear the unoaked Chardonnays out there, which we experiment with too. We do a little bit sometimes in stainless steel drums, which kind of mimics a barrel, but it's stainless steel, so you don't get that oak influence. It's a little bit more flinty, maybe more minerally. You don't get as much of the tannin components or the oak spice components from the barrel in with the Chardonnay. So, yeah. So, and then what would you drink this with? I guess that would be a question I would say to you. Well, fried chicken, right? That would be great, or Parmesan crusted chicken that we put in the tasting kit. Really, the fattiness of anything, you know, the Chardonnay helps cut that with the acidity of the wine. It's a nice balance, a nice pairing. I, for one of my go-to favorite after harvest, one of my favorite pairings for myself is I love crab with Chardonnay. So it's just, yeah, seafood, salad, any of that good stuff for me is by itself. Any of those good things. Yeah.
Someone's asking about the color of the wine. It said it's, you know, on the tasting notes it has straw color. Is that usually associated more with Sauvignon Blanc, or is this kind of the color you would expect for the aging that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, straw or, yeah, straw. I mean, I think as the wine ages, we tasted, actually I was sharing that we did a little vertical Chardonnay today, and we actually tasted, we had a Magnum in the library of 2004 and a 2007 Chardonnay, and we tasted 12 through 18, and they all were pretty much this color. The older ones were a little darker, so it gets a little bit more oxygen. It does start to change the color and oxidized, but the mouthfeel and the flavors, I mean, were just bright, and that texture again for the mid palate was awesome. So, it's one thing to kind of look at, Chardonnays. I know we think of our red wines as our aging wines, and Chardonnays, I'd say, yeah, we usually drink them, I would say, within 5 years, but if you do happen to have 2012 at home or 13, pull it out. It's tasting great. Like it's really wonderful to see how it develops, and the fruit will start to fade, like you see, but the texture, it will surprise you that you'll still see that bright fruit on the palate. So, but yeah, our assistant winemaker is a huge Chardonnay fan, and he was unfortunately unable to be here today, but shout out to Leaf. But he said to me, his quote was, for 2004 and 2007, he would drink that all day. So he is a huge Chardonnay fan and loves aged Chardonnay, so it was really fun today to do that. So,
what gives Chardonnay the buttery taste that is so common? You talked a little bit. That's kind of that's what made Chardonnay really famous, right? And especially in California, that at least I know from growing up that it was that the butter bomb, the Chardonnays. Again, that is the conversion mallet, the ML conversion, and how they do it in barrel, and when they stop, like sulfur it and stirring it and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. So we take time to. I don't feel like maybe for you are getting a lot of that in here. I feel like ours is more subtle, and the idea is to have a little bit more of the flintiness kind of come through, but still have that nice richness. Do we age the Chardonnay in the cave at all?
Yes. Yeah, our wines. So the process with the Chardonnay is, as I mentioned, night harvest cold to tank, then it goes to barrel. We actually ferment it while it's active fermenting. We ferment it in our warehouse because we can drop the temperature really cool, because we want to control how fast it's going to ferment to help retain that the fruit component. And then, yes, once it's going through ML, we will move it to the caves, and it will complete fermentation in the caves. And that's where it will live until we rack it for bottling, mm-hmm. So, which will be probably in May.
And speaking of the caves, Carol Ann asked, since it's Earth Day, would you talk about the caves at Rutherford Hill? She took a cave tour with Joseph when they visited in March and really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Carol Ann. Yes, that is our caves. We have what we refer to as a mile of cave in our hillside here, which is great because, yes, you're right, for Earth Day, it is a natural way for us to keep our wines at the right temperature for aging. Yeah, it's it's pretty amazing. So, but yeah, we have it in the hillside, and all of our wines end up in barrel in the hillside, and it stays at a constant temperature. It fluctuates a little bit depending on, but it tends to stay right around 60 degrees, sometimes a little less, and the humidity is quite high. And so, depending on where you are from where you enter this cave, if you're in the back of the cave, we have a north axis. It's very moist back there. It's much more, you almost feel like it's raining sometimes back there, but yeah, and it's great. So we have less of the angel share that evaporates, so it's really great. I hope I answered your question.
Someone asked about the Dijon clone grape.
Yes.
Versus a non-Dijon clone, advantages.
Well, I think it's just a preference. I think there are, I believe, 100 different clones of Chardonnay, believe it or not, in California now. And the Dijon just happens to be kind of one of my faves. You get a little bit more of sometimes you get a little more tropical at that site, but not always. And it's just more flinty, and well, this one's not so flinty, but just there's more of like the texture, the flavor component that I like with the apple and the pear that kind of play off each other. There are other clones that, like I believe Clone 4, that it might be a little bit more acidic sometimes, more of maybe more acid than that. But just it's really kind of a preference and that you play with. And I think one of the great things is that I know I have a lot of other friends at other wineries that make Chardonnay, and that they play with the different clones and then use that kind of as a blending component for when they're blending, kind of like what they do with Pinot Noir. So for me, that just happened to be our tried and true at that specific location that we loved. But we have played with other clones, and this just ends up being kind of our favorite for our Carneros Chardonnay. I hope I answered that too.
Yeah. Someone asked different than Chardonnay, asked about episode and wants to know if you have anything on the top 3 drinking years.
Oh, wow.
So maybe you want to introduce what episode is.
What episode is? Okay. There was a question about episode. Episode is it is for Trelato Family Vineyards. It's what I always called like the cream of the crop, and it's the top wine that we make here, and it's a red blend, so it changes every year. And some years it's majority of the time it is more cab based. There was one year I think it was Merlot, but it is kind of the top wine, right? It's what we aspire to be, and it's small. It's a small amount of wine that we make, and it's really delicious. You should try some. The best. What was the question? Which vintage?
Top 3 drinking years. Like what's tasting great now?
Well, I'll have to admit that it's not something I've had within the last couple weeks. So I would say top 3 drinking. Well, any of the years would be great. I think that the 2007 is drinking pretty well, and I would go with. I did have a 6 that was that I tasted about a month and a half ago that was tasting great, and I also really enjoy them on the. I like them younger. I think we all have personal preferences of when we like to drink our wines. So I would say even, I think is it the 13 or the 12? Yeah.
And going back to earlier, a question about, you mentioned working in Italy.
Yes.
Where did you work?
Oh.
Like what area?
What area did I work? I worked at a little place called, outside of Ponte. I worked at a little place there called Colognole. So it was out in Chianti Rufina that I worked, so it was really fun. So, anyways.
Cool.
Anyways. Okay.
Let's see. Okay, I think this probably will be our last question.
Okay.
From Katrina about a general explanation on why certain foods are good with certain wines. For example, the chicken recommendation that we made, which you spoke to a little bit with.
Well, I think, for me personally, I think, food, wine is food and meant to be, it can accentuate each other, right? So, so even today when we're tasting, some Chardonnays you taste and you're like, oh, that would be great with this cheese, or with, salad, or with fish. It's like meant to be a complement, and so I think kind of getting to that whole, if something is more tannic or fattier, fried, it's got that richness, the fattiness. It's nice to kind of cut through that and cleanse your palate and kind of get you ready for the next bite of the other thing. So it's meant to just be like a synergy, is how I look at it, and I think you always strive to. I know that I have some chef friends that it's that to have that perfect combination when you have that, I don't know if you've been fortunate to have some of those moments where you have like the perfect, you just happen to have the perfect wine for that perfect bite of food, and it's just heaven, right? It just really complements each other. The food's complementing the wine, and the wine's complementing the food. So I think it's just one of those things you just strive for, right? It's one of those things that's one of your missions here, right? Through life, is that every day you can just try something new and do different food pairings. You might find the next best thing, right? Popcorn. I know I have friends that have popcorn and Chardonnay. I've done that too. I've been known to take a bottle of Chardonnay in my water flask and take it into the movie theater. So, but fun things like that. So it is a nice compliment with popcorn at the movie theater. So, but I hope you enjoy it. Just because. So, anyways, I just want to say again a heartfelt thanks for joining me today here at the winery. It's really great to be back here, and it's great to be back here with all of you. And I hope that you all stay healthy and happy, and just enjoy your day. And cheers to you, Melinda and Mario. Happy anniversary, and thanks. See you next time.